some instances the checks are slow in coming. Let us appreciate that never before in our history we have had so many persons at any one point in time claiming for severance payment. The government has recognized this, and very recently we said to the Minister with responsibility for labor to do an assessment in terms of the number of persons working within the department. Is it that additional persons are needed to assist with the processing of the claims? Is it that we need to have an additional shift in terms of persons working beyond the 4 o'clock hour to assist with the processing of claims? These are all being looked at in an effort to ensure that severance payment claims are being processed in a more efficient manner. We recognize that it is a time when persons are really in need of the severance payment money. Therefore, I think one can gather from everything that I've said, it is being given priority, and we will continue to look at it. We will continue to look at the number of claims that are still outstanding and make every effort to process them within a timely manner so as to help to ease the current financial burdens that persons are facing. Again, we would want to say thanks to persons for exercising patience. If you have completed your claim a long time ago, you feel free to visit or to call the office to get some update as to the status of your claim. I'm quite sure that the staff there would be quite happy to provide you with the necessary information so that you get some indication as to when your claim will be processed. The road, the person said new roads. So I'm not exactly sure if it is, they're actually referring to the road going up into New Road itself or the road going into the St. Peter's community.
Just to shed some clarification on that. The road, well, New Road for the most part falls within constituency 2. However, there's a part that is in constituency 8. But there is a serious need for improvement of the road network within the New Road area. Those roads are well in need and overdue. And so I will use the opportunity to take a page out of Akila's book and thank the Honorable Sean Richards, the Minister of Public Infrastructure, in advance for the efforts that he will put out to ensure that in due time the roads in your road are addressed.
I will respond to you this way, and in general to various persons who have called in this evening. I've heard from many persons before in organizations, etc., that the reward for doing a good job is to get more work. Yes. Indeed, that appears to be the case with this Team Unity administration. We have been doing a very good job in terms of upgrading the Island Main Road. We have been able to do new roads in a number of other communities, and of course persons seeing the quality of the road, the quantity of the roads that we're able to do. Of course, they would want to see an improvement within their communities. What I additionally would say to those persons is that indeed you will see an improvement and an upgrade of the roads within your community. The fact is that we can't do all of them at the very same time. And as more and more land is made available for persons to be able to build homes, of course you're going to have that additional need for the necessary infrastructure within those communities, such as roads. Everyone wants his or her road to be done first and to be done immediately. We are not able to do so, but we have demonstrated to you that we have the capacity to build a stronger, safer St Kitts and Nevis. A part of that stronger safe for St Kitts and Nevis, of course, includes the road networks. We continue to build out our roads. Today you had the opening of the community center in the larger Atlas community. We spoke to you about different projects that we are undertaking. You see that despite the fact that we have COVID-19, the Island Main Road Resurfacing project is still continuing. The Old Road Bay project is still continuing. And so, you know that your team unity administration has been working hard on your behalf. Therefore, you want to see even more of those successes. You want to be able to say that within my community, I'm also able to share in the successes of the team unity administration. Very shortly, you will be able to do so. The commitment is there to address all of the roads. Recently in a staff meeting, I said that perhaps one of the persons who hear from me most is the person who has responsibility for oversight over the roads division. Because it's not just about the Island Main Road, and even in those areas where the work hasn't been completed as yet. As recently as this evening, you get complaints from persons. There are some potholes in these particular areas, and some of it is because of some of the other necessary work being undertaken. The placing of the water lines underground, for example. We, in the Stoneford community, and I think in Cranston Gut, for example, they're supposed to be putting some culverts under the road. So, for example, in Stonefort, when you have heavy rains, you don't have that particular gut flooding, so that the water would go under the road instead. And they're just outside of Stonefort heading to Old Road Bay. You also have some additional infrastructure being put in to channel the water more on the ground instead of on the surface of the road. You, as you enter from Middle Island going into the Lambert's community, you see similar work being done there. But I think persons get the general point that we are doing work, and we will continue to do work. In terms of capital projects, we have a full slate of capital projects which we expect to implement during the course of this year. When we finish the Bastille High School, for example, I suppose that other schools will look at Bastille High School and say that we expect to see something similar within our community. So success, I suppose, breeds further success. And we are happy that we have been successful as an administration. It is therefore no wonder that on the 6th of June, when we went back to the polls, the people of St Kitts and Nevis gave us an increased mandate. And so whereby before was the youngest member of the cabinet, you now have two persons who are younger than I am. But I'm happy to be amongst the three youngest persons in the cabinet. You have listened to them quite intently this evening. You recognize that they are quick learners. You recognize that the Team Unity Cabinet has very talented persons who are working hard on behalf of all of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Again, I would want to say thanks to the entire population of St. Kitts and Nevis for first giving us support.
Well, Minister Richards, you almost sound as though you're giving your closing statement. So if that is the case, and I realize you're really eager to thank the people for your second term, maybe we should have the question about the cannabis law addressed quite quickly, and then we can have everybody's closing remarks.
I suppose Mr. Powell will address that in his closing remarks.
Yeah. Okay, that can be done. So can we also suppose that Minister Powell will begin the closing remarks and then we go in reverse order as we start?
Certainly.
Perhaps for the benefit of the viewers, you could just read the question.
Okay. The person asks,
can you shed some light on the cannabis?
good evening. Can someone please shed some light on the status of the cannabis law? People are still confused.
Right. So the government, the Steam Unity Administration, would have passed the Cannabis Act, which would have decriminalized the use of cannabis in St Kitts and Nevis, while at the same time providing for an infrastructure for the rollout of a cannabis industry in relation to medicinal, in particular, usage of cannabis. What that means for the ordinary person is that it is no longer a criminal act to be in possession of cannabis 15 grams or less. So you can have cannabis 15 grams or less on your person, and that is not a crime. It also means that the law also provides that persons can have up to 5 trees on their private property, but there's responsibility that comes with the development of this particular legislation. And so I use the opportunity to remind persons that it is still a criminal act to smoke marijuana in public spaces, whether it be on the Strip, whether it be on 4th Street. It is still a crime to use to smoke marijuana in those spaces. It is suggested that you utilize the herb on your private premises. But in terms of the rollout of the industry, we have recently set up the Cannabis Commission, which is tasked under the legislation with the role of setting up the infrastructure, the various processes, so that persons can now begin to apply for the various licenses to carry out different roles within that industry. So there are various licenses for growing marijuana, for producing certain products, and just about every process you require a license for. And that falls within the ambit of ensuring that the product that is coming from our industry is fit for purpose, that the efficacy of the product is sufficient. It is not just a matter of growing marijuana and selling it to somebody to make tea or to make a brownie or to make an oil or something like that. There's science behind it. There's certain strains of marijuana that are best used for certain purposes, and so just to ensure that all of these things are now put into context, and part of that will include a public awareness and education process. And so we are quite confident that having now set up that commission, persons will now see more activity taking place and will have a better understanding of how they can play a part in the marijuana industry in some way. We think that is something that can provide tremendous opportunities economically and otherwise for citizens and residents of St Kitts and Nevis, and it's something that we would want to encourage persons to participate in a responsible way. And so we look forward to seeing a lot more information coming to the fore with the implementation of the commission. And I guess I will wrap up now. As usual, it has been a pleasure to be here and to interact with the public, whether it was to be able to listen to and respond to calls or text messages. I think that this is important. We say that we're here, leadership matters, and part of being a leader is the ability to listen to the persons that you're serving and to be able to understand what they're dealing with and to respond with it. A particular pleasure to be here with the other 2 youngest members of Cabinet, 2 people that I have tremendous respect for and who I have really enjoyed working along with. In respect of the Honorable Sean Richards, he's my ministerial predecessor, and he's been real rock for me as a new minister. There's no handbook or no manual that you get on the first day when you walk into the ministry to say this is how you do things. For me, that is my WhatsApp chat with Sean. And then, Akil and I know each other from school, but I think that our portfolios overlap in terms of culture, youth, entrepreneurship, entertainment, and so we've had a lot of discussions. I know we have a lot of plans. We tend to think a lot alike in terms of our discussions, and there's so much more that I know that we'll be able to do together for the benefit of the people in St Kitts and Nevis, but in particular young people, young talented people. In this day and age, I know things are hard, people. I get it, I understand it. Things are hard. There are people out there who are really suffering at the moment. But have some faith, have some patience. I know it's difficult for me to sit here and just say it, but we as a government are trying our utmost best to see how we can alleviate that suffering, those hard times for you. I believe that we have been doing a good job. When you look at the situation in St Kitts and Nevis compared to some of our neighbors, we are much better off, but it doesn't mean that things aren't hard for persons. But we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. We're seeing more and more people go back to work. We're seeing more activity in the business space. And with the introduction of the vaccines now, we know that we have a pathway to get back to prosperity. And that is why I started off by encouraging persons to participate in the process of being vaccinated, and I will end on that note because I think it is very important. If you don't get vaccinated, you can't travel. If persons don't get vaccinated, they'll be restricted from traveling here. The more persons we have vaccinated within our own community, the more protection we have as a people, and the better prepared we are to lessen some of the restrictions, to have more persons come in, to get our tourism industry back up and running. The tourism industry is what drives our country and is what will help to make things a lot easier for persons. And so I want to encourage you all to participate, get your vaccine. Let us all as a country, as a community come together and work together to get back on that road to prosperity. I will be looking forward to interacting with the good people of Central Bastia. I have suspended one-on-ones for a short time, and what I'll be doing is going into various parts of the constituency and meeting with persons there. And one of the first initiatives that I'm going to be rolling out very shortly will be an employment drive, and that is where persons can come and register. Persons who are not working can come and register, give us your information. We will create a data bank with your information so that as opportunities come up, we can make recommendations, we can know who needs what type of job, even in terms of professionals, whether you're a contractor, a carpenter, a mason, what have you. We want you to come and register with us so that when opportunities come up, we can refer to you. So thank you, it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to being back on Leadership Matters in the near future.
All right, so I guess I'm up. So thank you so much. It's truly been a pleasure being part of this very special edition of Leadership Matters. It's always good to be able to come on Leadership Matters and to be able to address the nation, as well as to hear from you and have your questions and answered as well. And so I am so happy to have been here for this special edition, and I'm hopeful that I'll be able to return again soon enough, because there's so much that we have to share. There's so much that is happening under this Team Unity administration. There's so much that are happening in the various ministries, and we just need to be able to share that with you. I think it is important to always be able to communicate with the public and get them knowledgeable about what it is that the government is doing and how does it affect you and how can you benefit and how can you contribute as well. And so having this forum allows us to do that. Now, if I am allowed to just go from where the Honorable Minister would have left off, that is vaccines. As you know, we would have already received 2,000 from a contribution from Dominica. We are also expecting very soon a contribution from India of some 20,000. And then just today, I would have received an email from the COVAX facility indicating that they too are ready to ship. And so we will soon be coming around in educating the public, letting you know about the safety of the vaccine, giving you all the information, scientific information that we have about the vaccine, and allowing you the opportunity to make an informed decision about getting vaccinated. And so I would like to encourage persons to be able to be vaccinated. As the Minister indicated, unless we have a certain percentage of the population vaccinated, around 70%, we won't be able to attain herd immunity. And we want to be able to attain herd immunity in our population. And so we'll be encouraging persons to step up the vaccine. I know Minister Powell raised his hand very early and said he wants to be there to be able to get the vaccine. So I know he would be willing to step forward and show you just how the vaccine may work for him. And so I'm encouraging that. He said he's ready. And also my good Deputy Prime Minister, I know he would be more than willing as well to be able to do that. And so we want to just encourage the public. From about soon enough, Wednesdays, as usual, the NEOC will be giving you information about the vaccine, but we have a full program that we want to roll out to educate everyone about the vaccines. I know we hear a lot about efficacy and effectiveness, and so that information will be shared. Persons want to know what are the side effects. Persons want to know what am I protected from. All of that information will be provided to you as we begin the rollout. In the background, the Ministry of Health is doing everything to make sure that we are ready to receive the vaccine first off. So we're making sure that we have our refrigerators ready to store those vaccines. We're making sure that we have a database ready to store the National Registry for COVID-19 vaccines information so that we can keep track of persons who have received the vaccine. Persons may have some type of side effects. We want to be able to have that information, and so that database is currently being developed as well to be able to roll out in short order. And so we are looking forward for persons' participation. It is not mandatory, but we would highly encourage that persons go out and get vaccinated once we begin rolling out the vaccines. And so you can look forward to that. There's so many things that this team unity, I'm pivoting, there's so many things that this team unity have done over the past 6 years. And as the Deputy Prime Minister said, because the team unity have been so successful, people expect so much more. I think that at this point, people believe that anything they ask for is possible from the Team Unity administration. And indeed, we do work hard to make sure we're able to meet all the needs of the people of St Kitts and Nevis, and we will continue to do that for the foreseeable future. We thank each individual who would have went out and voted, not just on February 2015, but then again in 2020, June of 2020, and gave us an even stronger mandate and told us that indeed we believe that Team Unity is best for St Kitts and Nevis, are delivering for St Kitts and Nevis, and will continue to deliver for the people of St Kitts and Nevis. We did say stronger, safer future, and we are committed to that. That's why the Prime Minister and other members of Cabinet is here every Tuesday, because we need to be able to hear from you. What else do we need to do? How else can we improve? And we know that you're more than willing to share with us, and so we appreciate that. In terms of technology, we have been talking about the digital economy and digital transformation, and I'm happy to say that we have already worked with a consultant, and so shortly we'll be setting out a roadmap in terms of how do we get there. And that too will be an all of society approach, because it affects you as well. So we want you to stay tuned and listen out for what next and how you will be able to help us to be able to ensure that we have full digital transformation. In terms of the new ministry, we've recently hired some staff for that ministry, and we're working towards being able to launch that ministry next month. And so persons will be able to hear more about what the Ministry of Entrepreneurship, Entertainment and Talent Development will be able to deliver on behalf of the young people and people within the creative industry. But I've always said too, it's an opportunity for us to start from the ground up in developing a brand new ministry and a brand new industry by extension. And we have that unique opportunity where not just young people, but everyone have that opportunity to build that ministry from the beginning and see it grow. And so we would encourage persons when we do have our launch, we'll call it Creative Arena, because we want to hear from you. We're going to share with you what we have done, where we are headed, and our ideas, and we want you to be able to tell us what else do we need to do. How can we change to make it even more encouraging and more about what you need from the ministry. So listen out for announcements as to when that Creative Arena will take place. There's a lot that Team Unity have been doing. There's a lot more that we still have to do, because we want to guarantee that we have a safer, stronger future that we committed to prior to the elections of 2020. And we are committed to that. With me tonight is the team of the youngest members of our parliament. And I think it's a way of us showing the cabinet. And it's a way of showing the future. A future with Team Unity. A good mix of aged and youth. And I believe, just as the Deputy Prime Minister said, our youth, the younger ones among the cabinet, we have been doing our part and we will continue to do our part. There's so much that we are learning and we continue to contribute and add. And the good thing about our cabinet is that we are encouraged to all participate and share our ideas and say, how do we see something improving? And so with all three of us here as a younger team, you can only imagine where St Kitts and Nevis will be able to go and how we will be able to continue to grow under Team Unity administration. And again, I want to thank the people of number 3. You've never swayed before, but you have committed and you've told me with more than enough votes than I can even imagine that you're ready to see something new, something different, and you would trust me with your vote and you would trust me to be your representative. And I will continue to work on your behalf. I continue to have my one-on-ones every week. As you know, you come in, you meet with me, your information is stored. I keep asking everyone, meet with me on the one-on-ones so that your information can be saved in our database. So whether it is jobs, land, housing, whatever it is, that information is saved so that should anything come up, I have an easy access to your information. I can pull it up and be able to share with you the information that I have that can help you, or even be able to assist you in whatever it is that you may need assistance with. I won't be there this Thursday because of Parliament, but I'll see you again next week Thursday for a continued one-on-one. So once again, number 3, thank you for the love and support, and to the people of St Kitts and Nevis, thank you for trusting Team Unity to provide for you that stronger, safer future.
As we close, I once more take the opportunity to say a very special thank you to all of the people of St Kitts and Nevis for the trust that you have in our Team Unity administration. You have been told that tonight has been a special edition of this program, as it marks 6 years since the Team Unity administration was first elected to government. In that respect, I also say thank you to the other 2 members of the cabinet who are here with me this evening. The Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, who ran in West Bastille on a People's Labour Party PLP ticket. The Honorable Janelle Powell, who ran in Central Bastille on a People's Action Movement PAM ticket. Now, I suppose that some persons are wondering why we don't have someone from CCM present here this evening. Let me say that the intention was indeed to have someone from the CCM party in cabinet, who sits in cabinet here this evening. However, there was a funeral service in Nevis today, and as a result of that, the representatives from CCM indicated that it would be difficult for them to be able to make the program this evening. In the case of one minister, for example, he even had a further function beyond the funeral service. Initially, the intention was not for me to be here, but for someone from CCM, for General to be here from PAM, and for Akil to be here from the PLP side of the Team Unity administration. Nevertheless, I'm happy that I've had the opportunity to be here and to interact in particular with you, the callers, and those other persons who would have taken the opportunity to communicate with us via WhatsApp and other social media platforms. The Team Unity administration is committed to continue the build out of the Federation of St Kitts and Nevis, whether that encompasses our infrastructure, whether it encompasses our laws, and as you heard, we are going to Parliament on Thursday because, of course, the legislative agenda continues. Whether it is about the various services provided, whether at the hospital, at the Inland Revenue Department, at Customs, or wherever else within government, we will continue to do our best to provide the best products and services to our people. Our agenda is about developing our people, because when you go about developing a nation, the nation is really about the people living in the nation. Whatever it is we do it with the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis in mind. We want all of our citizens to be able to have a better standard of living. We are building a more resilient community. It is in that respect, while you look around the region and you recognize that we have been able to respond in so far a different manner to our neighbors. And in that manner, I think you would agree, it has served us very, very well. You look at Barbados, for example, that island has gone into basically a lockdown. You look at Antigua, the curfew there has been extended. You look at St. Lucia, you have a curfew being set in place there. However, here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, we have been able thus far to not just manage COVID in a very responsible manner, but to a large extent, we have been able to weather the storm of COVID. Economically, yes, we have been challenged like many other economies. We have had persons who are now out of jobs, persons can't find employment because they still have a number of businesses not operating at full capacity, and some businesses are still closed. The important thing though is that in spite of all of the effects of COVID, we have been able to manage it to such an extent that to date we have not recorded one single death here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have not had to mourn here in St. Kitts and Nevis for our neighbors, for our sons, our daughters, our grandmothers, other relatives, because those persons have passed as a result of COVID-19. Hence, yes, it is not business as usual. Some things have changed. There are some inconveniences. But we say to persons, let us continue as a nation to come together to weather the storm. We now have the vaccine, as you have been told, and very shortly we will be rolling out that immunization process. Like my two colleagues, I want to encourage as many persons as possible to take the vaccine. Take the vaccine. We want herd immunity. You have been told that in respect of the vaccine, it helps you in terms of if you contract COVID-19, it helps to prevent deaths. It helps in terms of ensuring that our population in St Kitts and Nevis remains safer, and ultimately that is the aim of any government, to protect its citizens, to ensure that its citizens are healthy, to ensure that our citizens are able to live as long as possible. Finally, I must also add that the major thrust of our development is about our people, in particular our young people. In that respect, I say a very special thank you to Mr. Petty and his team with respect to the build-out of the Explorers Club. Quite a number of young persons involved in the Explorers Club, getting valuable lessons, not just in terms of academics, but being taught certain skills. And when I say certain skills, not just vocational skills, for example, but social skills, so that when the caller would have asked earlier about crime, for example, that is part of the fight against crime, that investment in our young people. The building of the headquarters for the Explorers Club, which was opened in December of last year in the Molyneux Phillips area, that represents a significant investment in our young people. You heard the Minister of Health is speaking about ICT, and one of the things which we saw happening today during the opening of the community center in the Large Atlas community was the provision of free Wi-Fi for persons utilizing that community center. That is a project which is supposed to be built out in all of the community centers. Again, there are various aspects to it. Giving our young people an alternative, helping our young people to develop and to nurture their skills in terms of the information infrastructure, in terms of IT, because the trust for this government this year is indeed about building our IT infrastructure. You may have listened to the budget debate last year, and you would recognize that the theme for the budget debate last year surrounded that particular idea, that particular platform. We are building out the digital economy here in the Federation of St Kitts and Nevis. We want more persons to become involved in that sector, more persons to become entrepreneurs. You have heard the Prime Minister speak to the fact that monies have been made available, not just in the past, but within recent times, to the Development Bank of St Kitts and Nevis, so that young persons in particular are able to go into the bank, access funds to become entrepreneurs. It is one of the ideas that General spoke to when he spoke about the Peace Initiative, and so many young persons who had previously been involved in a gang activity now becoming entrepreneurs here in St Kitts and Nevis. You heard about the build-out of the Technical Vocational Education Training Program. Again, it is to give our young persons additional opportunities within the education sector. We recognize that not all of our students are academically inclined, and so those who have an interest in vocational education, they must be able to get it within our schools. As they go about seeking that particular education, we will become more satisfied that we have competent persons here in St Kitts and Nevis to undertake a lot of the sort of vocational type of work that in many instances you see persons having to come in from overseas to be able to do that type of work. We have grappled, we have wrestled with the fact that a number of our young men have been dropping out of high school, and we do believe that the Technical Vocational Education Project will also help us in arresting that particular situation, giving those young men who perhaps have a different interest to be able to undertake studies during their high school years in that particular sphere of our development. You have heard of the many projects that we plan to bring online during the course of 2021. And so whether it is the Basti High School again, that is an investment in our young people. You have heard about the new Ministry of Talent Development, Entrepreneurship. Again, we want our young persons to be trained in those particular areas. So this Team Unity government indeed has performed on behalf of all of the people here in the Federation of St Kitts and Nevis. We came to you in 2015. You gave us, I think it would have been 5 of the seats here in St. Kitts and 2 of the seats on the island of Nevis. We came back to you in 2020 and you gave us an increased mandate, not only on St. Kitts but also on Nevis. We thank you for such. We are grateful, and we say to you that we have absolutely no intention of failing you, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. We will continue to work hard on your behalf. As mentioned earlier also, indeed we are the 3 youngest members of Parliament, but I think one of the differences that I can point to at this stage is that I have been there throughout the 6 years of the Team Unity administration. In that respect, I close by saying a very special thank you. I extend my sincerest gratitude to the good people of the very proud town of Sandy Point, to the good people of SP, where the best be. Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us here this evening and making the program what it was. I want to thank our callers, our listeners, everybody who participated. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful evening and enjoy the rest of your night.
You're listening to an audition of Leadership Numbers.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.